In this video, we will take a quick look at the different types of evidence used by historians to create an understanding of an event or period. We will be using these different types of evidence in class throughout the year. So what kind of evidence do historians analyze? Historians use artifacts, primary sources, and secondary sources to understand an event or an era. So what is an artifact? An artifact is something created or used by man. According to Smithsonian Education, artifacts tell their own stories. Artifacts can have multiple meanings, can capture moments in history, and can reflect changes that are happening during a time period. Historians use primary and secondary sources to figure out where an artifact belongs in history. Historians also use primary and secondary sources to understand and give context to events and periods. So what is a primary source? A primary source is a first-hand account of an event, a historical document, or an object. Primary sources describe what happened, but usually do not analyze or interpret events. Diaries, memoirs, and letters are primary sources. The Dame Shirley letters, written by Louise Amelia Knapp Smith Clapp, describe daily life in the California mining camps during the gold rush. Pictures are primary sources. This picture shows the women's suffrage headquarters in Ohio in 1912. The 19th Amendment, ratified in 1920, gave all women the right to vote in federal elections. In many western states, including California, women already could vote in state and federal elections prior to 1920. Transcripts of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence are primary sources. Political cartoons are primary sources. This political cartoon was published in 1903. It is a commentary on the immigration policies during Teddy Roosevelt's presidency. What is a secondary source? A secondary source is an account of an event, person, or period that was created sometime after the event occurred or the person lived. Secondary sources tend to interpret and analyze information about the event, person, or time period. Secondary sources can include books about an historical event or era, and this includes history textbooks, and biographies such as Plutarch's Lives are secondary sources. When talking about any historical source, be it an artifact, a primary source, or a secondary source, it is important to consider the point of view or bias of the creator or author. When we as historians consider primary and secondary sources, we need to ask what was the author's point of view and why was the source created. In this class, we will try to look at events from multiple points of view. It's not always easy to determine whether something is a primary or secondary source. Sometimes evidence can be both. Here's the front page of the Washington Times on May 7, 1915. A German U-boat had sunk the passenger ship, the Lusitania, earlier that day. The main article about the sinking is based on information received from several sources, none of which seem to be eyewitnesses to the sinking. When this article was written in 1915, it would have been considered a secondary source document. Contrary to what the article states about all passengers being saved, almost 1,200 people died in the sinking of the Lusitania, including 128 Americans. However, the article is now considered a primary source document because the newspaper article records the public reaction to the sinking. The sinking of the Lusitania is often given as one of the prime reasons that the United States got involved in World War I. This primary source helps us understand the period before the United States entered the First World War. For this week's discussion post, I want you to consider the following. Can a tweet be considered a primary source, a secondary source, or both? Can a blog post be considered a primary source, a secondary source, or both? In your discussion entry, identify which type of source you think the evidence can be and why. See the assignment description on the course website for the assignment requirements and the assignment rubric. I look forward to reading what you have to say.